Hello. I really felt led today to speak to you again about forgiveness. And the reason why forgiveness is such an important subject is because it frees us and it allows us to soften our hearts towards other people. And this is because when we live in unforgiveness, it can sometimes, not always, but it can sometimes mean that we shut our hearts down because we may be afraid of being hurt again in the future, and we may believe that if we hold back our forgiveness, we will not be hurt again in the future. But of course, that isn't necessarily the case. And when we want to take care of our hearts, understanding the concept of forgiveness and the effect that it has on us is very important for our own growth. And often when someone apparently comes against us, our first reaction often is to retaliate. But this need not be a reaction from us, because what we can do instead is we can stand back, of course take care of ourselves in the situation if we need to leave, but we can take the opportunity to stand back and to see what is actually happening and what may be happening as far as the other person is concerned. But the important point within this process is that we head towards forgiveness, even if we can't get straight there to the end of the path immediately, because forgiveness is often a process that we go through. Sometimes we need to process the situation. Sometimes we need to get distance from the situation so that things are put into perspective. Because when we react within a situation, often it is because we do not have perspective and we do not understand where the other person is coming from as well. And so, when we operate from the stance of determining to forgive, regardless, at some point, then our heart is headed in the right direction towards forgiveness, and we are more likely to be able to get to the end of the forgiveness path. Whereas if we immediately harden our hearts, it can sometimes take us off of the forgiveness path, and we may find it quite difficult to forgive again in the future because it hasn't become a habit. It doesn't feel natural. But when we forgive on a continual basis, with our connection to our source at the heart, we are able to then come from a position of compassion towards the other person and also towards ourselves, which is important. Because often if we feel guilty, if we feel that we have done the wrong thing, then we may want to project that guilt onto the other person so that we don't have to deal with it. But when we come from a place of non-judgmentalism towards ourselves and other people, we can skip those steps and we can move towards forgiveness immediately. As I say, it can be a process and a journey, and often some people will feel guilty because they're not able to get straight on that path towards complete freedom, complete forgiveness straight away. And that's because sometimes we need to process things. We need to stand back and allow ourselves to relax. And often when we do that, we change our perspective, we change the dimension that we're coming from, and we're able to head down the forgiveness path in a serious manner that is based on compassion. And therefore, we've learnt the lesson of forgiveness, which is about our own journey and about our own growth. Because these situations are brought into our lives often as a lesson to teach us about forgiveness and to keep our hearts soft towards other people and situations and towards ourselves. And so I hope that is helpful. Do pop over and have a look at my other video on forgiveness if that's of help. But in the meantime, I pray that forgiveness will be a big part of all of our lives, and that, as usual, you will stay safe and very happy. Bye-bye.